Okay, we shall start with section A on leadership. Now, section A is a short section covering only A1 and A2. It does important information from section B on governance, section C on strategy, and section H on transformational changes, change management. Okay, so some of the information which we will only going to learn in later sections are utilized here, because when we talk about leadership, this is the application of it. Leadership is basically the tone from the top. Leadership here for the ACCA syllabus will cover the CO especially, as well as from the board of directors. A key word in this particular section is the word culture. Culture is, according to what McKinsey defined, is the way we do things around here. So in an organization, when a person joins the company, he is exposed to the culture of the company. Okay. Now, let's have a look at the study guide. Now, study guide is the detailed syllabus. It is a term ACCA use. A1 is the qualities of leadership. Okay. Now, 1A, the first topic that we need to learn is explain the role of effective leadership and identify the key leadership threats effective in the successful formulation and implementation of strategy and change management. So strategy, I told you, is section C, and change management will be covered under H. Okay. Now, B, section A, 1B, is to apply the concepts of entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship. The entrepreneurship, of course, means a person wants to take risks in order to earn higher rewards rather than being an employee. Intrapreneurship applies those skills within the company when you are working for the company. Okay. This will be to exploit strategic opportunities and to innovate successfully. So throughout the SBL paper, we see the word innovation. Innovation means you want to come up with new products and services. Now, A1C is to apply in the context of the organization, governance, and leadership qualities, the key ethical and professional values underpinning governance. Now, ethics is another key point because they want leaders to be ethical. Ethics and moral are basically the same. Ethics means what is morally right and wrong. And professional values are those which the accountant needs to adopt, as well as the directors. That means you act, for example, with integrity and professional behavior. Okay. Now, the first slide that we got on my notes basically cover the role of effective leadership. That means the leadership threats in formulating strategy and change management. Of course, I put in here two pictures, images to help you understand. Most of you know, of course, Tony Fernandez of AirAsia, and then here is Jack Ma. Have done an excellent job, of course, of founding this Alibaba. Okay, so let's start by looking at the meaning of the word threats. Threats basically are knowledge, skills, and attitude a person brings to the job. So if you have your character, it covers three particular areas. One is knowledge, your technical knowledge, your past knowledge, your working experience. The skills you pick up, negotiating skills, for example, skills to do transaction as well as transformation. And then the attitude you bring to the job. Are you a good leader who motivate people, for example? Now, let's have a look at item 1. The role of an effective leader is to plan long-term objective of the organization. Long-term objective means basically the strategy of the company, the long-term plan of the company. You want to set the goal and objective of the company for the rest of the employees to follow. So a leader also should be able to see the future in the industry. Vision, he must be able to look around corners. He must be able to indicate the way forward. The leader, once he has set the vision, must lead. The word lead means to influence others to implement these plans. So the word influence, for example, is a keyword. If people ask you what's a leader, he's a person who can influence the rest of the employees to move forward. He will establish the vision and the mission. What's the difference? Vision is where the organization wants to be, the desired future state of the organization. Mission is how to achieve the vision, the overriding purpose of the company. So you decide what is your vision and then your mission to get to the vision. Vision can be a very short statement. For example, Toyota's vision was, we want to be the #1 car company in the world. So you set a goal and objective to be the leading motor vehicle company in the world. And the mission was to produce good quality car at reasonable prices so that their revenue could increase. Next, the leader will determine the organization structure, including system and controls. So they will decide the people in the different positions in the company, the system and procedures in the company, and they need to put in internal control and risk management. Now, the leader will also define culture. Culture is the way things are done in a company, taught to newcomers who join the company. And what's the purpose of culture? To achieve the goals and objectives of the company. That means basically to make profit, take care of sustainability, create value for the shareholders and stakeholders. Now, the leader, we say, must be intelligent, assertive, and energetic. He must be a good organizer. Okay. Of course, there are many kinds of leaders, but generally they should have a strong technical knowledge and relevant work track record. That means, if you're a factory, you might have some form of production experience, an engineer with background. Okay. You want to have some knowledge of finance and the work track record too. If it's a CEO, has he have any previous experience as a CEO in leading people? If a company is in a bad shape, his previous work record might involve having turned around previous companies before, isn't it? Now, this leader or CEO will monitor and reward performance. He will take care of employees, say will take care of the business. This, in fact, is a description of what we expect from leaders now. Okay? They know how to take care of people, because people, all problems in the company are people's problems. So you want to solve problems, you need to be able to manage people. Now, leaders also, as I said, have technical knowledge and relevant experience in the right industry, for example, okay, to share and apply. Leadership is provided by the CEO and the board of directors, of the senior management, etc. Okay, on the shop floor, the leader may be the production supervisor. Good leadership is most needed when an organization goes through strategic change. When there's change management, employees need to have a clear vision of where they are going, for example. What are their roles and responsibilities. He will provide clarity of purpose and direction. Usually when a company goes through strategic change, people are confused, they're not sure what to do. He will empower others and work through teams. Empowerment, that means he will give people the authority, the right to make decisions. Leaders will be inspiring the lead from the front. So traditionally, this is one of the checks of a leader. Even great generals in the past on the military field, like Napoleon, Alexander the Great, they inspire their soldiers because they say, okay, when they attack, they were in the front. Sometimes we have leaders, generals who say, okay, attack. They themselves stay at the back. They tell their soldiers, attack and die for the country, but they themselves stay at the back. Okay, so this doesn't motivate the soldiers. So one of the things is that the leader must dirty his hand. Now, One of the type of leaders is transactional leaders. They give reward to followers in exchange for performance, loyalty, greater ownership, and compliance. Transactional leaders are in companies which are very stable. Maybe they're making profit. Not much changes are required. But of course, many of the questions in SBL paper cover transformational leaders. That's why there's an exam question. The company need to make changes in its strategy, look at the risks, etc. So these leaders inspire followers to work at the beyond compliance, not just follow the rules. Or the change culture comes in, they need to innovate, as I said, to come up with new products and services, new ways of marketing, new ways of production, new ways to remunerate people. Need to use digital technology, for example. All this to move them in a new direction. So the dynamic nature of the environment means that companies often have to innovate and change. Today, of course, because of the changes in technology, use of big data analysis, etc. So the environment, external environment is changing very fast. So the internal environment needs to change as well. So CEO nowadays need to have a transformational leadership. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through Strategic Business Leader SBL for the March 2020 questions. So our paper is an integrated case study paper, which is 4 hours. So at 3 p.m., the Chief Invigilator will allow you to turn the page so that you can run through the question. Now, the first part of it is what they call the overview in this paper. Sometimes it will be referred to as, say, an introduction, for example. Okay. It's a form of preamble, that means before the question. So it will give you some background on the paper. We will see that the question here, it is called Active for You, the company. So that's a short form use, TT for you, which you can use in your answers. Basically, it's an information technology consultant founded 20 years ago. And what does it do? A quick glance tells me that it does technology support and data hosting. Okay. Now, as I read down, I will see that there is a board role. There's a list of the people in the company. Some of them, I can see the word quickly. They are founders of the company. But in this question, they also do dual roles. I see one of them does the smaller business, another one the larger business, and the third, another founder is in charge of the public sector team, the government sector, which of course will probably mean higher contract. I see that there is already a finance director and a non-executive director appointed 4 years and 2 years ago. Okay, they have these positions because the company is a listed company, public listed companies on the stock exchange. This is important normally for questions, especially covering internal control and risk, because they need to do these tasks under good governance. It will also especially affect questions which may affect the board structure, where they will need to have compliance with the listing requirements of the stock exchange and the UK Code of Corporate Governance. Now, as I go further and read, I notice it's about transformation, and always you want to see what role you're playing. Sometimes the roles are different for different questions or tasks, but in this question, you are the leader of the team from Starkfield. Starkfield is a external consultancy firm. Okay, so you're preparing reports for it. Now you will see there's a list of exhibits, and the technique I've often taught, if you've gone through my other questions, is that when you come to this part of the reading, just skip it, or just take a quick glance at this. Why? Because later, only when we start going through the exact exhibits, then you will read it closely and then link it to the questions or the tasks. Now, as part of your preparation for your exam, Always make sure you read every past year question. Put aside some time to read it. Allocate around an hour. It will take you between 20 minutes to 1 hour to read each past year question. Now, for this particular sitting, there were only 10 pages. This is the list of all the past year Q&A. Now, for myself, I read in 32 minutes. Now, English is my first language. I read carefully. Some of you may be able to even rush through it in 20 minutes and assimilate the key points. Some may take an hour to read it because English may not be your first language, which is fine. Now, the main thing about this exam paper, March 2020, although it's only 10 pages, the task can be very lengthy. Okay, so it is important that you read this question at home without interruption under exam condition before you even go through the rest of my videos. Okay, so this way you will gain the benefit of reading. Reading is a very important skill in SBL. To read fast is very important. So you want to put aside some time, and as you are reading, you are going to do annotation. Okay. There's no separate reading time. So as you're reading through the script, you can do your time management, etc., etc. Now I'm going to now run through the tasks with you. Now what I do is when I get the paper myself, assuming I'm a student, now one of the first thing I do is I actually run through to see the questions, number of questions. So I see there's a question 1, and there's an A and a B and a C. So I know question 1 got subpart A, B, C. Then on the next page, I have question 2, and there is 2 subpart. And the question 3, A, B, C. So altogether, there's 8 subparts. 3 questions or tasks, 8 subtasks or subtasks for the full 100 marks. Of course, you know that 20 marks is for professional skills mark, and 80 marks is for technical content mark. Now, when I do the paper, I myself will do my time management first. Time management for SBL is unlike the other papers. We only use the 2.5 number. We call it the magic number, multiplied against the 8 marks. So 8 marks times 2.5 means that we will need to have 20 minutes. Okay. So I know later I can try to complete question 1A in 20 minutes. I don't bring in the professional skills mark when I calculate the 2.5. So I'll do this right at the beginning after I had a glance at the paper, because this allows me to calm down a bit. And it's important to put in this time, because time management is very important. It's a speed test. Especially the later part of this paper, a lot of students could not finish. We know this from the examiner's report and my own students who did this sitting. They told me they struggled in the last 2 subparts. So time management is very important. So I will go and write down the time first. So question 1B will be 30 minutes. 1C will be also 30 minutes. Because it's 12 marks. So when I look at question 1, it's 41 marks, but I don't times 2.5, isn't it? I will add up the time for the 3 tasks. So 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and 30 minutes. So altogether, it will be 1 hour and 20 minutes for 41 marks. Now, this is important because when I'm doing the time, I will look at my watch or the clock on the wall to be sure that I am within my time management. If I find I'm going behind, then I will proactively try to do the easier question at the end, or I will try to use some point forms. Okay, so time management is a skill that is important for paper-based exam. For CBE papers, computer-based exam, of course you can do some copy and paste to save time. So that has the advantages and disadvantages. Okay, now let's come to question 2A. Now it's 8 marks, so I know it is 20 minutes. Now 2B will be 25 minutes because 10 marks times 2.5. So let me finish writing this. Question 3, 25 minutes. 2B will be 25 minutes as well. And 2C will be 25 minutes as well. So for question 3, the total will be 1 hour and 15 minutes. Be especially important in looking at the time required to answer the last 2 tasks or subpart, because at the end you may need to shorten because you'll be probably be under time pressure. Now, as we do the paper, we will have I will always tell you to leave. You can leave some white space, so in the end you can come back to finish add extra material, review the question. The 4 hours include review time, for example. But in practice, very few students can complete comfortably. Usually you will rush. Okay? So you seldom have time to go back again to review. That is the practical truth of the matter. Unless you're very strong in English or you have you are able to do speed reading. Okay? So because of that, when you come to the last couple of parts, you have to be especially concerned about the time. Now, when you start reading the questions, one of the things you want to know is the beginning of the paper. Now, this one, I will call it the preamble. So I put a P on it. Preamble means what? It's something before the question. Now, you notice that nowadays, the latest papers, they always have a preamble part before the question. So because of this part you will use for question 1A, and some of it may be used later for other tasks. So when you do it, be sure you always look at this again. Some students ignore this. It may give you additional information which is required when you answer the questions. This part, for example, it says that major contracts will not be won or renewed. So this, of course, means the company want to tender for new contracts. Okay, this to be winning new contract. At the same time, they want to retain existing contract. So the new markets, market penetration, and existing markets which they want to retain means they're worried that existing customers may run away and not renew their contract. So this part, the preamble, will be used. Okay, with this, let's start looking at question 1. When you read it, it will tell you to prepare briefing notes for the board, which analyze the main risk. So this question is about risk, which threaten TT for you, being ensured new contracts and retaining current contracts. We know that's right. So this question is about section D of the syllabus. Now, some of you like to write down which part of the syllabus it come from. No harm. So D in the SBL study guide will cover this part. Now, after you read this, later you're going to go behind to read the exhibits, exhibit 1, exhibit 2, etc. Now, when you do it, you want to write down the exhibits on the next to the question so that you won't forget where to refer to when you actually do the paper. Now, I'm going to write down for you what they are. As you do the reading, that time when you're actually doing the writing also, you will find that, you have to use another exhibit. Maybe the information may be less. Okay. Now, there's some of the question paper, the case studies, you have to use virtually all the exhibits for every question. Others, some of the tasks require only data or information from one of the exhibit. For the question 1A for this sitting, I will have to use the overview. Remember, this is the introduction. I will have to use the preamble, of course, okay, because that covers the fact that they're trying to win major contract. Now, coming to the actual exhibits, I will put E1, exhibit 1. This is the key exhibit. Then the exhibit 2, also information. E3 also. E4, which you will find later, is about staff. So staff often have been mentioned here. Then E5 on security, later you'll find. So all these exhibits have to be used just to answer one question. Okay, so the only exhibit you don't use around here is exhibit 6 for this question. All right. Now, when you are doing this analysis, when you're running through the question at the beginning, you will of course underline also the professional skills. Now, analysis, you just write like normal. You can see that there are going to be 2 marks for analysis. And if you answer the question correctly with the right technical marks, content marks, that means you have analyzed it correctly. So the professional skills mark will be linked to the technical content mark. And I was very happy that this sitting, they actually said it in the examiner's report. If you score high technical content mark, that means you've done the job correctly. You will probably have done a good job of examining all the different information. Okay, you have provided some good insight into the question. You will also look here whether when you do analysis, do you need a recommendation or not? Okay, so you ask yourself, do you need that, or you want to do a summary? Of course, all this will burn time. Now, question 1A is a good question to start because you will be able to, it was quite easy question. Sometimes in the past SBL paper, question 1 was one of the toughest question. So when you do 1A and B, it's like 40 marks already because they ask you to do financial and non-financial evaluation, so which will burn up a lot of time. Then the rest of the paper, you're rushing. In this paper is good because you start off with an easy question. You'll find the question 1A and 1C in particular are very simple. But this caused a serious problem because students use up a lot of time and then they couldn't do the last 2 subparts. This is the practical feedback which you can see on students' forum on Open Tuition regarding their exam paper. Okay, so question 1A, now that we've gone through, we know it cover these exhibits. Okay, and you will of course want to ask yourself when you're doing the paper, does it involve any models? Students go into SBL papers often thinking that it is theoretical paper that will test you on all the models. They spend all their time trying to memorize the models. So is the model used in this paper? There is some reference because you're trying to win new contracts, whereby NSOF can be used. You can refer to market penetration and product development because the company is going to a lot of new products, more cloud-based services. It's going to introduce Internet of Things, IoT. So you also want to do some market development by going into public sector in a bigger way. So NSOF, you can make some reference to it, but it is not a question on NSOF, okay, but you can mention it. When you're running through the question, the one thing that always comes to your mind is, can I use a model? Okay. In fact, for this paper, as SBL is developed, there was very little need to use model. You could have gone through the whole paper without using a single model. But of course, it's easier to write when you use a framework because then you know what are the points that will be looked into. Now, this is especially important when we run to question 1B. Now, 1B is on section C of the syllabus. Section C of the syllabus. Okay, and here you will see it talk about two strategic option. This partner, the strategic option available, most students who have seen this, they will have go ahead and use the SAF model. You can use it or don't use it. You can also get strong marks. But the moment you see strategic option, you will want to look at whether it is suitable, feasible, and acceptable to the company. So you'll be able to use some of the terminology and words which you have probably memorized already, and apply from the SAF framework for this question. Now, as you're looking through it, I told you the professional skill marks evaluation, which quite simply means you're going to do some comparison or evaluate something. You want to consider whether you need to give a recommendation or not. Usually, there will be a requirement to do so. So let me write them down for you. You ask yourself whether you need to write a recommendation, whether you want to choose to proceed with each of the option or either one or none of them. Okay, if you do your evaluation correctly, this professional skills mark, the 4 mark will come to you. So you don't need to do anything specific. You have used this kind of action work or question works in the past, isn't it? In your earlier applied skills paper, if you are an ACCA student previously doing the earlier part of the paper, or you are university students. So you don't need to do anything special when it comes to evaluation. Okay. Now question 1B, of course, also have got a preamble. So to guide you, question 1B here, you need to use the overview. Remember, the introduction, the preamble on top. Then you want to use certain exhibit, especially exhibit E1. Okay. Then I find that I use exhibit E3 too. Okay. All right. Now, with that, let's have a look at question 1C. Now, question 1C, again, there is preamble. Okay. What I call the P. Right. Now, here you are asked to prepare a confidential email. So that is the layout format. So this layout format, you need to write it. If you don't prepare the email format, you will lose professional skill mark. This is the only negative marking that we know about now. Keep on changing, but at the moment, the only negative marking in SBL is that if you don't prepare the email, you will lose at least 1 mark. Okay. Now, normally, ACCA throughout their 13 papers, they don't have negative marking. Because difficult for markers to decide where to minus mark. But then, when SBL started, some students just skip the email, the layout format to save time, or because they don't know how to do it. So they say this is not a professional approach. So when you look at professional marks, you must always have the layout format. Here is skepticism. Now, skepticism means you want to challenge, probe, or question what is in the report, in exhibits, etc. Be skeptical of what people say. Right? Business people don't often lie outright, but they know how to bend the information. So your job is to be skeptical, whether you are a consultant, an auditor, or even an internal staff. Now, in this question 1C, we are going to see that they are going to refer to different parts of the syllabus. So, the first part of it asks us to for action on controls on the confidentiality of data, and the second part, risk and ethical issues, referring to communicating the threat to the client. So there is a problem on where the company information on a key customer is correct. We'll see when we read the exhibit. There is a blackmailing letter coming in, extortion letter. So the company has received this letter. Should it review it to the client? Okay, it will of course lead to reputation problem. So now this particular question 1C therefore cover for the first task, because it's about control, isn't it? So control will be section F of the syllabus, and then risk and ethical issues will be section D and A. Ethics is under section A because it was part of the section on leadership. So all the ethical models are there. You don't have to use the only ethical model which is in the SBL syllabus, which is the Tucker 5-question model. And of course, the AA model is in the technical articles and in the EPSM syllabus. So these two you don't need to use at all. Okay. So these are the 5 sections that you will need to refer to. So this information is mainly in the chartering letter. So you find you will have to use, let me put it further down, you will have to refer especially to E5. This is the letter itself. Now other section will also come in. Okay. And then I told you O and P, normally you need this background information for this particular question. Now we run through question 1 ABC already, okay, which is about 40% of the marks. Now, before we carry on, I'm going to take you through a quick summary now, because at this stage, I told you earlier, question 1A and C are very easy. So when you do this, you will find it that way. B need a little bit more time because it's about SAF model. It's not easy to look for the points to fit the models. What is suitable? Would it work? Is it acceptable? It's acceptable to stakeholders when you look at risk and return. Is it feasible? Can it be made to work? So these 3, 1B therefore requires some reference to what you have studied. But 1A and C, a lot of common sense things. When you run through, if you especially you have good awareness, you will be able to get the marks very easily. So 1A and C was very easy. The main thing is actually more the time management. Now, I'm going to write this down for you. Here is a summary, which later, when you finish reading, you can come back to it. Question 1A and C, easy. Very easy. Okay, the main course, however, it will burn your time. Be careful of it. Now, when we carry on reading now, we are going to go to the other question. Question 2B was very tough. Okay. Now, what happened was students tried to use the 6 eyes and got messed up. Very difficult to use the 6 eyes. Because use 6 eyes. As I was running through one year to you want to use SAF model or this, so students look for the model. Itself, the question wasn't very difficult, you'll soon see it. But because of you're trying to fit the information into the model, it doesn't really go in. So if you're struggling and writing some irrelevant information, now this is in the examiner's report. So if you look at the hard copy of the examiner's report when you print out, have a go look at it. The examiner's report for this sitting particularly is very good. Okay, you will see that they mentioned the 6 eyes doesn't really help. In fact, it's the disadvantage. Now, question 3, B and C are not difficult, easy, but run out of time. So this was the thing that was the killer in the paper. Okay,